Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And in this video is a video that I have been waiting for a long time. And as I mentioned in the previous video where I did the review of the Hammond Collection T-Rex, I was trying to find if anyone actually did a review on both of these and comparing them. Not a review, I'm sorry, a comparison video, but no one did. So eventually, at a certain point, I had to do it myself. So that is what we are here to do today in this video. We are going to see who is the best Rex out of the two top premium T-Rexes. And yes, in my opinion, the electronic real feel Tyrannosaurus Rex is a premium T-Rex, even though I know that the Hammond collection is meant to be a collector's item that comes in its own collector's box and looks really nice. The real feel, I'm just going to call it the Red Rex. The Red Rex is a retro collective item. So, with that being said, to me, he is definitely premium. And these two are going to go head to head. And as the famous saying goes, one shall stand and one shall fall. So that is going to be the case here. Now, I want to apologize for the fact that because of the scope of these figures being so big, my background is showing. Fish tanks in the background. There was a review already on the channel with the fish tanks. If you want, you can check that out in terms of fish and plants and things of that sort. But anyway, on to what's in front of us. Now, I already did a video comparing the Red Rex to many other T-Rexes, and you guys could go check that out. Check that out, those past videos to see if, because it's actually a two-part video and it's pretty long, and do a very detailed comparison about things I dislike and like about each one, and kind of coming out with my reigning champion, which was the Red Rex. So, of course, with that being said, and this top premium figure here in the Hammond collection, there's no need for the Hammond collection to go against any of the other ones. He's just going to go up against the champ. Let's get a little fun pose going on right here. And we'll just run right into it with the fact that the Red Rex does not have ratcheting in its jaws, but the Hammond Collection T-Rex does. Now, to me, I am a fan of the ratcheting effect. Others may not be. I heard many people say they don't like that because they like to be able to pose it however they want when it comes to the jaws. The reason why I feel that way is because, as I mentioned previously, and we're going to jump into that topic later on in terms of other features that they have and how the Hammond Collection one has articulation, more articulation than the Red Rex. Now, for me, the ratcheting will prevent looseness. This one does not have looseness. Now, I will say this. This figure right here is the one that my kids have been playing with for a little while now, this Red Rex, and it has stood the test of time so far with its jaws not being loose, but nonetheless, I don't know how that would stand up, say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years from now, 30 years from now, because obviously this is based off of the one that was from 30 years ago, and obviously that older one stood the test of time because it has almost no articulation, so all it had to do was just sit there. So that's a factor there. Now we're going to jump into some small details as well. We're going to move this little guy out the way here, and whoever's the winner of this, they get to eat him. So let's kind of get a little bit close in here. Now, I think both of them have amazing detail. Now, the paint job on the Hammond collection is a little bit more satin, a little bit more matte. So it does have that, but it definitely holds the detail very well, and it does have more of an original color to original Rexy. When I'm not going to use color as a basis in this, because as far as I'm concerned, Red Rex is also the original Rexy because he's the original toy we got. So they both are competing in that area, and that's just a preference in terms of what you like. But his detail is very nice. Now, the Red Rex, his detail is also very nice too. Obviously, you can see, and I'm going to bring the Hammond Collection Rex up into the mix in a moment, but you can see here just all those little details on his face. And I'm glad that the camera is able to pick that up really well. I think it looks very nice, very detailed. Now his has a little bit of a the camera's picking up a gloss, but the truth is on certain spots. But the truth is, in person, this is very matte. It's very um, anti-gloss and very satin and matte like type of finish. So it really is not glossy at all, really, when you're looking at it in person. But nonetheless, like I said, those details look very nice. Let's take a look at the Hammond collection up close, and you can see definitely the detail is very nice as well. I really can't really tell you if I think one is better in detail than the other. Hold on, I got some weird effect happening with my focusing, so sorry about that. It's doing it again. Sorry about that, you guys. I just hope you guys can see this pretty well. But anyway, they both look really amazing. Now, right off the back, I'm gonna just jump into giving some points right now for different ones in my kind of scoring. I'm not gonna do like a whole counting up all the points, but I'm just gonna make little notes of things that I want to point out. Now, first off, let's start with the eyes. Now they fixed his eye a little bit, but who do I think has the better eye? I think the Red Rex has the better eye. It's just focused. It just looks angry. It looks mean. Where the Hammond collection, it can look very nice when you get it on point, and other times when it's not, it's not. Now, granted, I definitely think this is the fixed one because I remember seeing videos where no one could ever get it to angle to see the black pupil inside. This one, you can see it decently, but where I'm standing right now, I can see it, but there's other angles where I just can't. So it's definitely fixed. I'll give it points for that, and I'll also say, in general, a glass eye is better than normally a regular eye in terms of being more fancy, being more, premium, because anyone who's familiar with the Dino Riders line from back in the days, they introduced glass eyes, and it was really nice. Now, with that being said, um, I guess I like the look of the Red Rex's eye a little better. Glass eye obviously will never be destroyed off of paint wear, so I'm gonna kind of give them both equal on that, even though in general I want to say I like the Red Rex a little better because it gives a more dynamic look, but I'm gonna give them both about an equal in that because the premiumness of Glass Eye, I've always been a fan of Glass Eye since the days of Dino Riders. Now, as far as the mouth goes, we're gonna go into the teeth now. This is a tough one. I first let's start with the mouth closed. Now, the Hammond Collection's teeth are a lot bigger. And I don't like that the Red Rex's teeth are less individualized. One thing I remember saying that I did like about the Red Rex is he's the only T Rex that has lips. You can see it right there where his thing comes over his teeth and extends outwards. It's not right at the edge of his mouth, where all the other Rexes don't have lips. Now, I'm not saying that obviously Rexy didn't have lips in the movie per se, but I feel that the Red Rex does it in a subtle way that you don't feel like he has these over the top lips, where it's kind of like if anyone has seen that, I think it was a Discovery Channel with the T Rex, the more accurate form of the T Rex, and they gave it lips similar to a iguana or something like that. Now this is not lips on that level, so he still looks like Rexy's general shape and dynamic for the head, but I like that feature, especially when you realize looking at on my previous video how the teeth were on the Stomp and Escape version, where they were kind of a little bit outwards and there's some quality control issues. So this won't run into that as a problem. I also like how with the teeth here also you see how they're very recessed inside there. So it really feels like, they're not going to damage. They're seamless in the way that they're put in there. And I actually really like that a lot. And even the ones up here, that there's the quality control is very good. The only issue I have, and I like the color of them too. The only issue I have is I just wish they were a little more individualized, and that's it. But then again, this also does give it a lot more strength and you know stability into it because I can even feel it because they're a solid piece that's less individualized. They're stronger. So I like the teeth. They're not the best teeth, but I like them. Now, going into the Hammond collection teeth, they look okay. I'm not a fan of that color, but granted, in real life, a T Rex's teeth would probably be very yellow and decaying. But I don't really like that color for the purpose of just a figure to display. They are pretty strong. They don't have the lips like the way the red one does. They do get the paint all on the inside as well, so that's pretty good. Um, it's hard to say because the truth is, visually, I like the teeth on the Epic Roaring and the Stomp and Escape one better than both of these in terms of the way they look. But in terms of quality control and not breaking, these both of these are better than those set of teeth. So with that being said, it's really hard to judge. They both have the positive and negatives. These teeth, I like that they're individualized, but they're so blunt and they're not sharp. Um, let's kind of get up inside there just to kind of see how it looks in terms of, so you see it stops right there. It looks nice. It looks a little bit more realistic. I would definitely give it that. So it's really hard to say with the teeth. They can go either way, but I just think at a glance, if I'm just looking right at a glance and I'm not really thinking too hard or thinking too deep, I will say that the Red Rex's teeth, I like the color of them, but I really can't give it. So I'm just going to give it like a equal for both of them. I really can't say one's better than the other. They both are not the best teeth, but they both are better than the teeth I prefer in regards to strength and durability and not breaking down the line. Now, the tongue. I like the tongue on this. I like the whole little, it has little bumps on it, and it feels nice for what it is. But obviously, it's not comparing to the real feel tongue that the Hammond Collection one has, or that was, on the Epic Roaring. But in this case, we're comparing this one. This has the best tongue that is around. I think this tongue is nice. It's better than some of the ones on other ones, like say the Stomp and Escape and whatnot. But um, it's not better than the Hammond Collection's tongue, hands down. There's nothing that can be said about it. But this one has a certain gimmick feature that almost requires that you have this type of tongue. You could have a real feel tongue on the bottom of this. You still could have done that, but this tongue on the Hammond Collection is just so big. So you really couldn't. You could have made a tiny tongue in there, but and made it real feel. But it's not going to be the same. So I get it. Um, so the Hammond Collection beats it in that regard. Now the jaw muscles. This thing's draw muscles are basic and they function well. They're not over the top. They're not like, I think they're fine. They're fine for comparing to any general figure. These ones actually look really nice. The flaw to this is I don't think these are going to last. And that's the problem I have with them. So if it was up to me, I'm going to kind of give it both a tie in that regard as well because one looks really good and probably will not last. One looks basic and will obviously last forever. But this one's jaw muscles are definitely better than say the Stomp and Escape if you're familiar with that one because that one only has the jaw muscles on one part of the jaw and not the both. I think it's just on the bottom part and not the upper. So at least this one has it like that, which I think is nice. Um, let's see. Frontal view. I think they both look nice. And another thing that's actually pretty cool is I said it on both of their individual reviews, and I'll say it again, is that both of them have a head sculpt that is more accurate in size than all the other T Rexes that came before it. They're not oversized, they're actually correct scale, especially when you compare them to the size of a regular man. A skull of the T Rex should be just shy of the height of a regular man, and here you can see that it is on both of them. So that part is great. And obviously, you can see here when we compare them, they look like the mold of these jaws were exactly the same for the most part, other than the upper part near what would be an ear area. They aren't. But for the most part, it's the same scaling and same size. Um, the Hammond Collection one has a little bit bigger of a lower jaw, the round area going up there, like at that part, um, up there. and This one's a little bit less, but it's still not that noticeable. So that's one thing that I'm going to say is, equal for both. So both of their sculpts look nice. This one has bigger ridges over the brows, and this one's smaller, which is fine still, nonetheless. So I think they're both good in that regards, in the details. So for the most part, the heads are pretty equal after we went through the whole details of the interior of the mouths and everything like that. They both have aspects about them that are good and other ones that are like less than the other. So here you can see the lower jaw area. Both of them have some pretty good detail. The Red Rex has a more fine grain on the cheek area, or lower jaw area, I think. Where this one's grain is not as it's very detailed because of the way the paint job is, but his is more like the red one's more like a grindy sand if you really look at it. So it's even more finer, even though you can see his more well because of the paint job. The bottom obviously is nicely detailed as well, so I take no points away, give no points for that. They're just good. So overall, when it comes to the head sculpts, I think they're both good. Uh, like I said, if I had to say which one's the winner between the two, I'm going to have to say that maybe the Hammond collection gets it overall, only because, like I said, when I compare the teeth, it's somewhat about a tie. When I compare the jaw muscles, it's somewhat about a tie. When I compare the tongue, he has the better tongue. When I compare the eyes, they're somewhat about a tie. And so at that point, they're almost a tie in every way. But he's just got one factor about him that's a little higher, which is the tongue, that puts it over the edge. Now, what I will say is this about him is that him having the open jaw, I mean, the open throat, if you want to consider that, we'll count that later as gimmicks. But if you want to give that specifically to the realm of the mouth and points in that regard, then, yes, you could do that, and say he wins out in the head area because he actually has a throat that you can swallow things. But we'll make that separate as a gimmick. So let's just jump into real quick without going into a whole bunch of all this stuff. The articulation versus the real feel skin. We're just going to compare those two straight ahead because those are obviously the factors that come into play here when we're comparing these two. Me personally, I prefer real feel skin over um, over articulation. Now, everybody's different. Some people might say, I prefer articulation because they want to do all the posing. I like the real feel skin. It feels nice. It's a very premium feature. And to me, I just think it puts this figure over the edge. I just really like it. I also think it makes the figure somewhat more durable as well, to a degree. Now, he has less articulation, so that also makes him less vulnerable to certain damages as well. So that's just a preference on the person. I prefer the real feel skin, but I'm not going to give that an edge to the Red Rex because that's just my preference. Now, obviously, I'm already going to tell you right now, the one who I like best is the Red Rex, but this is a fair comparison. We're just going down each point and kind of basing what's what. As far as the general sculpt of everything, they're both equal, I would say, in that aspect. But I will give some points over to the Hammond collection for its size. Now, it has obviously the longer tail. The main body is about the same. And if I could line them up about where the main body is, they're about the same. But one thing about this Red Rex, unlike many of the previous Rexes, is that the previous Rexes, like maybe the Epic Roaring or even maybe the Stomp and Escape, but I definitely know the Epic Roaring, had a higher height, which kind of rivaled the Hammond collection one. This one is a little short up here versus the Rex. Now, I already measure, and keep in mind with the Hammond collection Rex, you have articulation where you can stand them up even more so. But this is a more very realistic pose that I already have him at, where his knees are bent. So it's not something we're standing up on the toes real high. And at that, I had him at the hip area, I'm sorry, 8 and maybe a quarter. The Red Rex at the hips is exactly 7. So that's over an inch and a quarter shorter. That's a big difference. Now, granted, he has that slope where his body goes a little more upwards and it gives you that feel of like, okay, like he's kind of tall in this area, but keep in mind too, this guy's just an articulation away from that. And then there you go. Now he's got a bigger hip area and has a bigger height area where he's now even out straight across. So with that, I will definitely say Hammond collection wins in that regards in terms of the length, obviously, but also in terms of the height. He beats him in that regard. And like I said, I don't chalk that up to just the articulation because I think even the epic roaring stands taller than him. I think he just could have had a little bit more of, and his legs aren't any more bent than the Hammond collection, obviously, from what you can see here. They really aren't. So let me turn him like this, and then probably you can see a little bit better. His legs aren't any more bent than his. So it's like, but he just is not standing as tall. So he's just one of those figures where I don't know how you could have just actually increased his whole proportion because he needs to be a little longer and maybe a little bit taller. He's over an inch shorter than him. So I got to give it to the Hammond collection in terms of the size. He's getting a point there. Now, while we're here and we're looking at the feet, guess what? Hammond collection is getting his points taken away on the feet. That's already obvious. Now, the Red Rex is not perfect with the feet either. Let's be honest. They messed up with the fact that his I forget the word that these are called, but we'll just say scales for lack of a better word because I think someone gave a different name for these. I don't know if they said scoops, but if these apply to be scoops, I don't think they are. But the scales on his feet, this one has more. This one has less of them, and this one has more of them. And because his color's so bright red, sometimes you don't notice it at a glance. Most people don't notice it at a glance. I've seen people who do review videos and didn't even notice at all. But in general, that is a negative, but it's not a bigger negative than the Hammond collection's feet. So with that being said, though they aren't perfect, though they are not better than say the Stomp and Escape regular feet or the Epic Roaring's regular feet, hands down, they are not. They are not worse than the Hammond collection's feet. The Hammond collection's feet are just atrocious. They look like I don't know chicken feet or something like that. They're really bad. So he's losing out points on that. Um, So in that area, they almost tie out. He's not as big in terms of his body sculpt, and we're just gonna make that just one broad thing, not just hit the length of him and the height. We're gonna group that all together with just his size. He is a little too small in comparison to the Hammond Collection one, the Red Rex, but he destroys him in the feet. We'll get into later which one you think is a bigger deal or not. Now, granted, we're not talking about the modifications that could be done where you could change his feet out, because obviously this that makes the Hammond collection visually like a perfect model or figure. But with just the way he comes base, um, me personally, I love the size, but those feet I can't live with them. But we'll base these points later on and add them up and try to be fair with everything. Now, the Hammer collection has one thing as far as a specialty, and that is his articulation. Well, the Red Rex has two things: his real feel skin, and then he has actually, I'm sorry, he has three things: real feel skin. He has the ability to swallow, and obviously take the figures out from there, and he's got sound. Now, I'm not going to harp too much on the benefits of the sound because I know it's kind of a feature that people could take it with it or leave it with like a grain of sand. It's not a big deal. Like it is what it is. But the swallowing feature is definitely something that I think is a big plus, even for something that you're posing and playing with, because you can literally do that and say even if you are, you know, like he just finished eating. What was the guy's name on the toilet? Gennaro. He finished eating, say, him on the toilet. At least you can get him deep down to the throat area, and it's like, hey, or maybe even you want him to be like where he's halfway. Maybe he eats up the guy, and the guy's hanging out, and he's got his feet hanging out like that. You get these kind of crazy little poses like that, where it's like, okay, that's part of posing your figure to have a guy halfway down the throat. It is, it's a cool concept, and then also in addition to that I have in real world practice. I'm not going to show it here in the video, but the Red Rex has been able to take down at least four adult figures inside his belly and down his throat. And even with all that, they're not even where their feet are sticking out of his throat. They'll be somewhere probably at this range in his throat, but he can literally close his mouth and there's no issue. So he fits a lot. It doesn't look like his body's that big, but it's crazy how many figures squeeze inside there. I think the most that I put in there was three adults and three little kids. So Lex and Tim, I have two Tims and one Lex, and they fit inside there. Now, I'm going to show you again why that's a positive that he can do that. Is because you take a figure like this and look, he can't even get his feet down inside there to do that. Now, I'm not saying that, it's a huge knock, but look at that. That's the most that he could do, which is fine. It's fine for general posing, but I got to give that as a plus. It's not just some cheap gimmick, because if you really are into posing and having a scene, it's kind of a nice scene to where this one's just like, okay, he's in the process of eating him. And this one, he's got him down the throat with his feet hanging out. Like that to me it's worthy of something. On top of the fact that if you're using it for a play feature, you literally can just throw your figures in there, or even use them to store them if you want to take the T-Rex somewhere. Say if you have your kids and you're like, we're gonna go outside and play with your dinosaurs, take some men, stuff them in the T-Rex, and we're gonna use it as a transport. But so yeah. So with that being said, I think that really runs down the gamut of all the things of these figures. Most of the fine details came in the form of the head. There's one other thing that I just remembered that I want to jump on: painting of the nails. He has his two front claws painted, um, and then he has, they call this the dew claw. He has that painted as well, which is a plus because almost none of them ever have that. But this one does not have his two front claws on each hand painted, and he doesn't have the little dew claw on the side there painted. So that's obviously a knock on him. How much points do you consider that to be is up to you. But it's definitely still a plus for the Hammond collection, because the Hammond collection is all about detail. So as we come to round out the video, let's run through everything real quick, and then we're going to go down to see who it is that's getting the snack. So let's run down each part by part. The head, um, the winner in the head area by a little bit, in terms of just being fair and honest, is the Hammond collection because of that tongue. I'm not going to include the whole throat thing as part of the head, though I said you could, but we're not going to do that. So the Hammond collection wins in terms of the head. In terms of a fair battle, like I said, this is not my opinion in terms of which one I like better. I already told you I like the Red Rex better, but in the head, it's the Hammond collection. In the body, um, in the body, I'm gonna say articulation versus real feel skin balance each other out. So that right there is what it is. In terms of size, the Hammond collection wins it in size. But then, like I said, I'm not going to take off points for the fact that articulation can get loose. I'm not going to do that. But what I will say is this: if we compare the articulation to the real feel skin as the equal balance, we're going to compare the size of the Hammond collection as a plus for the Hammond collection. But what we're going to throw in there to articulate, I mean, not to articulate, sorry, bad word, to emphasize a plus on the Red Rex's side regarding body, we're going to throw his hollow interior in there for that, because it's part of his body, the whole throat aspect. Though it's a part of the gimmick feature, we're going to align that to a category. That way we can actually give it a score, give it a point. So with that being said, when I compare that, so articulation versus articulation versus real feel skin, body size versus actual interior to swallow figures, and which helps also with the having them partially in his mouth too for posing effects and stuff like that. But we're just all throwing that in fact of body. They both could then be considered pretty much about equal in terms of that the body size. I mean the body category. But then guess what? Right there, they're about equal. This is the problem. He is losing points on those feet, and in that regards, I'm giving the body to the Red Rex overall. Though it's not perfect, but he has less negatives in that regard. So far, the way we're looking at it, he's got one up for the head, he's got one up for the body, and then what do we have left? So paint wise, and I love the paint job on him. So, but that's not what we're talking about because they both have an equally good paint job, in my opinion. They're just different because they're such wild, different colors from each other. If they were the same color, and if Hammond Collection was better, then I'd just give it to Hammond Collection. But in this case, um, because he is as a totally different color, I'm not going to give one over the other. And I'm glad this video is picking up such that nice detail and color and everything of the two figures because I really think that makes it. You can really see that how great they really look. But with that being said, you got to make him look all trying to make him look imposing too, because right now, Hyman Collection is just with his height and all, it's just looking like he's dominating. But like I said, we're talking right now in regards to paint, in regards to just paint applications being everywhere. He doesn't have it on the claws, on all his claws the way he does. So, um, like we just said, body area, he's winning in the body. He's Hammond Collection is Red Rex is winning in the body. Red Hammond Collection is winning in the head. Now comes paint detail. The because of the claws, Hammond Collection's winning it. What do we have left on the Red Rex to try to give him out a little bit of the edge? He has the sound. So painted nails, in my opinion, are as minor because you have the main painted nails painted are as minor as his sound gimmick. Some people might go, I really love the sound gimmick. Some people might go, I really like that he's got painted claws. So with that being said, to me personally, let me switch their sides because his tail is running into my plant and I can't get him as up in the mix at the same. Okay. So with that being said, those two categories of comparing the paint job with his paint job, then him having the gimmick of the sound, makes them both. I think that category kind of is a tie, but you could just choose which one you like better. And then, like I said, Hammond Collection's winning on the head. Red Rex is winning on the body. So at that point, it just really comes down to your preference. And I know everyone's going to want to say that they want to know who's the winner. I gave you the points that I was looking at, and you can choose for yourself. But me personally, as I mentioned already in the beginning of the video, I'm going to say it again: the Red Rex to me is the king, or the queen, because the features that it has are what I particularly like better. The features that the Hammond Collection has, though are great, I feel can be weaknesses. Things like articulation is a negative to me, even though in this battle I used it, it was a positive to have articulation because that might be something you like and it's a positive. But for me, that's a negative. The jaw muscles, in this battle, I rated them as a positive because they do look really nice. For me, that's a negative. Why? Because I feel like it will wear out. Maybe it won't, but I feel like it could because it's a part that moves, unlike the tongue, where the tongue really doesn't move like that. It just goes up and down. These things are stretching open and closed. If those wear out and they fade away, that's going to be a problem. If this tongue just gets a little bit hard over time, it gets a little like brittle, but at least it's there. At least still has its tongue. So I don't take a knock on that, but that's something that the jaw muscle is something to be weary of. I can't stand the feet. So a lot of the negatives that come with the Red Rex for me are not that big. A lot of the negatives that come with the that I feel come with the Hammond Collection, and some of them are positives, but I view them as negatives, are just too much. So in the battle, it comes down to a draw. In my personal opinion, Red Rex takes it. Red Rex gets the snack, and you're a winner. And that was it, you guys. So, like I said, put comments in the description. What you guys, I mean, sorry, put comments down below in the comment box. Tell me what you guys think. Which one is your favorite between these two premium Rexes? You can't go wrong with either one. Um, they are both amazing figures. Whichever one is your taste, maybe you have them both, but which one do you prefer? I'd just like to know in the comments. And in addition to that, link is in the description for you to purchase the Hammond Collection one on Amazon. Unfortunately, you cannot get the Red Rex on Amazon. You can only get him on Target. So find him at your local Target. Target often has a lot of good deals actually for both of them. So if you want to do that, go there. But sometimes, often when I see the price on Target for the Hammond Collection Rex, Amazon's usually matching that price almost all the time. So if you just want that delivery to come to your door in 2 days, go with Amazon. But anyway, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.